Many of you have been following the story of Joselyn Nungaray, the 12-year-old girl whose life was cut short when she was strangled and her body left in a Houston bayou. In this KHOU 11 Plus Rewind, we explore the circumstances surrounding her death, her mother's fight for change, and where the case stands now.
Trying to figure out what happened to a 12-year-old girl whose body was found in a North Houston bayou this morning. They suspect foul play. The girl's remains were found under a bridge along West Rankin Road, just west of 45. Stephen Goen in the neighborhood tonight with what we know. Stephen?
Len, it's just tragic. Houston Mayor John Whitmire said today that he has called the mother of this young girl who died, and she was just heartbroken. Police are not releasing too much information about what they know, but they are calling for the public's help to try and solve this case. The shallow part of this bayou along Rankin Road is where authorities found the body of that 12-year-old girl around 6:15 this morning. Our cameras were there as the investigation played out.
It's terrible out here, man. You know what I'm saying? This type of stuff can happen any day, anytime.
People who live near the scene, like Kendrick Sanchez, tell us they were shocked to find out what happened.
It's sad that a 12-year-old girl around here and some foul play happened, they found her under the bridge. You really don't hear nothing like that.
Tonight, Houston police investigators confirm foul play is suspected in that young girl's death.
I have talked to this child's mother, and of course she is devastated. Her family is devastated. Her little girl is gone.
At this point, it's believed the 12-year-old snuck out of her home nearby sometime after 10 p.m. Sunday night. Police say they're looking to see if she was in contact with anyone.
Looking into whatever communications that could have happened. We're not sure how that was, but we have reason to believe that the family did not know that she was leaving the house.
Still, police would not say what condition the young girl's body was found in, and they've not yet released her name, only identifying her as a white or Hispanic female.
The actual nature of the body and the way she was is under investigation. We're still looking into how she was found.
We're told there is surveillance video being reviewed, but police and Houston's mayor are now asking for the public's help in finding a killer.
We're not going to rest until this is resolved, and all the bad actors will be held accountable.
In North Houston, Stephen Goen, KHOU 11 News.
Learning more about the 12-year-old girl whose body was found in a bayou along West Rankin Road on Monday morning. Houston police say foul play was involved.
But just a few hours ago, Houston's mayor took that even further. Stephen Goen joins us with the very latest. Stephen.
Marcelino, we've still not been able to confirm how this young girl died, but during a press conference at today's city council meeting, this is what Mayor John Whitmire had to say.
And then you have this horrendous crime yesterday that was brought to my attention. We should not have to worry about 12-year-olds being raped and murdered in the city of Houston.
You heard it there clearly, Whitmire using the words raped and murdered to refer to this Rankin Road case. This afternoon, we reached out to Houston police about this, and they would not comment on what the mayor said. Instead, they referred us to the county medical examiner's office, but the ME has still not released their autopsy report. Today, the mayor said a report would be issued soon with, quote, very bad, horrific circumstances. Now, during today's city council meeting, the mayor revealed even more details, saying this 12-year-old girl was talking to her 13-year-old boyfriend on the phone the night before she was found dead. According to the mayor, that boyfriend last spoke with the girl when she was at a convenience store talking to two different adults. Now, I went to that convenience store today and we asked about surveillance video. The store told me that HPD had already seized their video recordings. Houston police told us yesterday this 12-year-old snuck out of her home sometime after 10 p.m. Sunday night, and we know she was found dead a few hours later, Monday morning. Anyone with information about this case is encouraged to call HPD or Crime Stoppers. Marcelino, back to you.
Stephen, thank you.
First up this evening, breaking news. Within the past 2 hours, Houston police released these surveillance images of two persons of interest in the death of a 12-year-old girl. This new development comes after Mayor John Whitmire today alluded to how the girl may have died.
We should not have to worry about 12-year-olds being raped and murdered in the city of Houston.
The girl's body was found in a bayou along West Rankin Road near I-45 yesterday morning. Mayor Whitmire also said today her last known communication was with her 13-year-old boyfriend on the phone, who says he could hear her talking to some adults at a convenience store. And here's another look now at the persons of interest that homicide detectives want to talk to. You know what to do. Call HPD if you recognize them.
Do you know these two men? Police say they are persons of interest in the death of a 12-year-old girl found in a bayou earlier this week. Houston Mayor John Whitmire has been sharing details about the horrific case, saying that she was raped and murdered. In just the last 2 hours, we've learned that young girl's name is Joselyn Nungaray. And all new at noon, Stephanie Whitfield spoke with the woman who found young Jocelyn's body.
The woman who made the grim discovery was emotional when talking about it today. She says her granddaughter is 12 years old, so she's heartbroken for the victim's family. In the last 2 hours, the medical examiner has identified the young girl as Joselyn Nungaray. Billie Jean Jackson says she had just dropped her husband off at work when she was driving home on Rankin Road. She looked to her left while crossing over a creek. She saw what she thought was a mannequin. She U-turned to take a closer look. Sadly, it was a young woman's body. She says she called 911. Jackson tells me there were no obvious signs of trauma, so she was devastated to learn that the medical examiner has since ruled the cause of death strangulation.
The detective, when I first spoke to him, he said that a lot of people don't come forward. Everybody deserves closure, so if you find something or see something, come forward. Everybody deserves closure and peace.
Jackson says she's praying for the girl's mother right now. If you know anything that can help with this investigation, you can call HPD's Homicide Division or Crime Stoppers. There is a $5,000 reward being offered in this case. Stephanie Whitfield, KHOU 11 News.
This afternoon, we are hearing from the family of 12-year-old Joselyn Nungaray. She was found dead in a bayou earlier this week.
Yeah, this comes as police continue searching for the people responsible. Victor Jacobo joins us live from near where Jocelyn's body was found. And Victor, I understand you spoke with Jocelyn's mother this afternoon. How is she doing?
Yeah, that's right. Alexis Nungaray, the mother of Jocelyn, says she is devastated, but she is praying for justice. However, at this time, right now, what exactly happened to Jocelyn remains a mystery both to her mother and to police. What we do know from police is this: investigators are looking for these persons of interest. Police suspect foul play, as they say Jocelyn died of strangulation. Her body was found in a bayou near the 400 block of Rankin Road early Monday. Jocelyn's mother speaking with us this afternoon, saying she looked for Jocelyn Monday morning but couldn't find her, only to have Jocelyn's phone located in the area where her body was found. She says she has no idea who Jocelyn could have been interacting with, but that her heart is broken.
I'm like angry that they took advantage of her. She's so young. She's 12. You took my baby away. Now I get to let her brother know her sister is never coming home.
Now, Alexis, who you just heard from there, the mother of Jocelyn, says she hasn't gotten any more updates from investigators today about what has happened or what the status of the investigation is, but she says she is blown away by the support of friends, family, and the community following this tragedy. Reporting in North Harris County, Victor Jacobo, KHOU 11 News.
Images showing a 12-year-old girl in a convenience store the last time she was seen alive.
Investigators are trying to figure out how Joselyn Nungaray wound up strangled in a bayou. And tonight, we're hearing from Jocelyn's mother. Victor Jacobo joins us live from the area where Jocelyn was last seen in North Harris County. Victor, what do we know now?
Yeah, that's right. I'm here at the convenience store where Jocelyn was last seen on surveillance video just hours before her body was discovered in a bayou that's just down the road from where I'm standing right now. It's also here where I spoke with Jocelyn's mother, Alexis. Tonight, we're also getting a look at new surveillance images. Take a look at your screen, showing Jocelyn at this convenience store with someone police identify as a person of interest. Jocelyn's mother said the 12-year-old likely snuck out of the residence and went to this 7-Eleven convenience store. The mother said she understands Jocelyn was talking on the phone with her 13-year-old boyfriend that night, and that the boyfriend heard Jocelyn interacting with two adults, but Jocelyn's mother has not been able to get in contact with him to learn more. Right now, Jocelyn's mother and the whole family is praying for justice and for those responsible to be held accountable.
I hope that they're found because Jocelyn was a fighter. She fought hard, and she needs justice. She didn't deserve this.
I'll show you those photos one more time from police of the persons of interest, only identified as males in ball caps. Anyone with information is asked to contact police. Family and friends have launched a GoFundMe page to help with expenses for the family of Jocelyn. We're going to have a link to that on our website. Reporting in North Harris County, Victor Jacobo, KHOU 11 News.
Tonight we have new images showing a 12-year-old girl in a convenience store the last time she was seen alive.
Yeah, this was just hours before the body of Joselyn Nungaray was found in a bayou in North Harris County. Authorities say Jocelyn died of strangulation and are now looking for two persons of interest seen in the store with her that night. Today we talked to Jocelyn's mother, who tells us she wants those responsible to be brought to justice.
I'm like angry that they took advantage of her. She's so young. She's 12. You took my baby away. Now I get to let her brother know her sister is never coming home.
The family has set up a GoFundMe to help with the expenses. We have a link on our website, KHOU.com.
And breaking now at noon. Good afternoon, I'm Sherman Chow. New developments in the case of a murdered 12-year-old girl. Her body had been found in a North Houston creek. Police now pulling boxes of evidence from an apartment complex nearby. Our reporter there is on the scene now, and we're told that there are persons of interest that were also picked up. Trayson Bragg, tell us what you know.
That's right. Well, I'll tell you, we're actually standing at the Canfield Lakes apartment complex, not far from both the gas station where Joselyn Nungaray was last seen alive and the bayou where officials say the 12-year-old was tragically found dead. And I will tell you, Houston police were here within the last 2 hours or so. Take a look. Our cameras were rolling as their crime scene investigators hauled multiple evidence boxes from an apartment unit here. Witnesses here tell us they're convinced this is tied to the investigation into Jocelyn's murder. And one witness provided these photos they say show police taking the two persons of interest in the case in for questioning. Now
I'm like angry that they took advantage of her. She's so young. She's 12. You took my baby away. Now I get to let her brother know her sister is never coming home.
Very difficult words there to hear. We know that the family has actually set up a GoFundMe to help with expenses. We know that that has now raised over $21,000. And there are still so many questions about this investigation that all of us have. We have recently learned that both Houston's mayor and HPD will be holding a joint press conference today in downtown at 2 o'clock, where they are expected to release new information about this investigation. We will show you that online on KHOU.com.
So I'm here today because our team has worked tirelessly tracking evidence in this case since the discovery of Jocelyn by a citizen on the morning of June 17th, 2024. Because of the assistance of the area community and surveillance video that our officers have tirelessly tracked down and other evidentiary pieces, we have found and learned that the suspects began their evening at a Northborough area restaurant together. They left that restaurant on foot, southbound. The suspects continued south and were first seen on a camera, and those are images that we released to you, to all of you and to the public. Suspects seen meeting the victim and talking for a few minutes while they were on Kirkendall. Later, the suspects and the victim walked together to a convenience store, and those images were also released to you guys and the public. After a few minutes, all three together walked to a bridge where ultimately Jocelyn was murdered. Suspects continued south towards their residence after leaving Jocelyn there. I want to thank the media for their assistance in greatly and broadly releasing the images of the suspects. I want to thank all the witnesses who have been brave, coming forward, talking to the police, and giving us the information that we needed to identify these suspects. So that on this morning, Thursday, June 20th, officers with the Houston SWAT team, Gang Division, North Belt Division, and Homicide did a coordinated operation at 13355 Northborough Drive, the Canfield Lake Apartments. And there we were able to find the two suspects, detain them, and transport them back here to Travis for questioning. While there, CSU continued to process their location, searching for more evidence, which they have found. The suspects are now facing charges of capital murder, one being Johan Jose Rangel Martinez, the second male being Franklin Jose Peña Ramos.
We are following breaking news after Houston police arrested two men in the murder of 12-year-old Joselyn Nungaray.
Both men are charged with capital murder. We're talking about 21-year-old Johan Jose Rangel Martinez and 26-year-old Franklin Jose Peña Ramos. Both roommates were arrested at their North Houston apartment this morning. Houston police holding a news conference just a couple of hours ago saying the men and Jocelyn were tracked to a bridge on West Rankin Road early Monday morning. And a few hours later, a woman found the girl's body in the bayou below. Police say she'd been strangled. At the news conference today, Houston Mayor John Whitmire joining police, arguing the two suspects should not be granted bail.
Now we want the justice system to do its job. If there was ever a circumstance where you do not give someone bail, this is it. So I'm going to be monitoring the court system.
HPD says they have ordered a rape kit as part of the investigation, but would not go into further details, only saying it was a horrible scene.
Trayson Bragg joins us live with more on what he's learned today. Hey, Trayson.
Hey, I'll tell you, we have been speaking to so many folks here in this community, and they are just shaken as more details are being released. Now, take a look behind me. That is a memorial to celebrate the life of 12-year-old Joselyn Nungaray. It stands not far from where her body was found this week. As you mentioned, we are now learning that Houston police say two men are responsible for her death. They say they are both facing capital murder. Both of those men were taken into custody this morning at an apartment complex less than a mile from here. Take a look at these photos that a resident of the Canfield Lakes Apartments shared with us. They say it shows the moment the two men Houston police now say are responsible for 12-year-old Jocelyn's murder being taken into custody at the complex. This morning, our cameras caught HPD crime scene investigators hauling multiple evidence boxes from an apartment unit that police say the suspects, who are both in their 20s, were both living in. Now, we spoke to a mother who lives just steps from that unit with her 14-year-old daughter. She asked that we hide her identity, but she did not hide her feelings.
It could have been my child, you know, so, I mean, it's just like, it's very emotional, because when you're thinking, I live on the 3rd floor, these people are on the 2nd floor, you know.
Again, the two men, Johan Jose Rangel Martinez and Franklin Jose Peña Ramos, are facing capital murder charges. We're waiting to find out when they'll face a judge. Now, I have spoken to a member of Jocelyn's family. He tells me that right now the family is obviously grieving as they are preparing funeral arrangements. We will work to get you the very latest details out here, and we will share more of what people in this community are saying today coming up in the next hour. For now, I'll send it back to you.
Yeah, thank you, Trayson. That investigation moving very quickly. We have in-depth coverage of this story from the very beginning. You can read more and get the latest updates on our website, KHOU.com.
Breaking news, Houston police announcing just 2 hours ago, two men have been arrested in the death of 12-year-old Joselyn Nungaray.
Tonight, the men are facing capital murder charges, accused of strangling and then dumping her body in a bayou. Trayson Bragg joins us live from North Houston with the very latest in this very tragic case. Trayson?
Yeah, tragic indeed, Len and Mia. Take a look behind me. You can see a memorial just beyond that truck. That's not far from where Jocelyn's body was actually found. I have to tell you, today we spoke to three mothers who live in the nearby complex where the two accused killers were taken into custody. All three women were visibly shaken after learning of the arrest.
It's heartbreaking. It's especially when you have a child.
As crime scene tape still flaps in the wind above a growing memorial honoring the life of 12-year-old Joselyn Nungaray, a community is struggling to come to grips with new details released by police just hours ago.
It could have been my child, you know, so, I mean, it's just like, It's very emotional because when you're thinking, I live on the 3rd floor, these people are on the 2nd floor. You know.
Houston police say the two men responsible for ending this child's life were sharing an apartment at the Canfield Lakes apartment complex. They were taken into custody there this morning. A neighbor asked not to be identified, but shared her thoughts as police scoured the apartment for evidence.
What did you move over for apartment complex for? You know, what were you thinking about? This was a 12-year-old little girl. These are grown men.
That mother tells us the two men, now identified as 21-year-old Johan Jose Rangel Martinez and 26-year-old Franklin Jose Peña Ramos, moved into the complex about a month ago.
The suspects are now facing charges of capital murder.
Investigators say the community played a huge role in this investigation, sharing tips that helped police track the men's whereabouts and the encounter between the suspects and the victim that ultimately led to today's arrest. Houston Mayor John Whitmire, already vocal about the case, had strong words for the court system.
If there was ever a circumstance where you do not give someone bail, this is it.
Now, there is still so much that we need to learn about the two suspects as well as exactly what led up to the murder. But right now, investigators say they cannot share those details. As for those two men, we are told that they are expected to see a judge either this evening or tomorrow. And as for Jocelyn's family, I spoke to a family member who says right now they are planning her funeral arrangements as they continue to grieve her loss. Len, I'll send it back to you.
12 years old. I can't get over that. Tonight, the family of 12-year-old Joselyn Nungaray is planning to hold a vigil in her honor tomorrow night at sunset.
That is after investigators announced today 2 men are in custody charged with capital murder for killing the little girl and leaving her body in a North Houston bayou.
Anieli Ruiz is live at HPD headquarters in downtown Houston with the very latest in this case. Anieli?
Well, guys, a sigh of relief for this family and the entire community as everyone was shocked to hear about this terrible tragedy. A busy day for officers as they zeroed in on 21-year-old Johan Jose Rangel Martinez and 26-year-old Franklin Jose Peña Ramos. Both men now charged with capital murder in the death of 12-year-old Joselyn Nungaray.
Como las 4 a 5 de la mañana.
Claudia Escobar, who lives near them, says she heard the loudspeaker at around 4 this morning. She said the loudspeaker in Spanish asked those in the apartment to exit because they had an arrest warrant.
Comenzaron las armas que tenía.
This neighbor said officers started arming themselves and they went up to the 2nd floor.
Primero subió. El primer chaval saltó por aquí, por atrás.
One neighbor said one of the men from the apartment jumped out from the balcony, but cops had the place surrounded and they grabbed him. Witnesses shared images of the suspects being questioned outside as investigators pulled out bags of evidence from the apartment. Today, police said the suspects ate at a restaurant on Northborough late Sunday. They left on foot, met Jocelyn near Kirkendale, and walked to the convenience store. They then all walked to the bridge where she was killed.
They just moved in. They haven't even been here a month.
Neighbors say they didn't really know the 2 men because they hadn't lived here for long. But one thing they all noticed, the men would sit on the balcony and they said they would make unwanted advances to women as they were passing by. Neighbors still here can't believe that someone would hurt such a beautiful young girl.
It's very emotional because when you're thinking, I live on the 3rd floor, these people are on the 2nd floor. You know, and it's just like, I don't even, there's no emotions here.
Listening to the folks that live there. Anieli, have investigators said how they tracked these men down?
Well, investigators say they're still digging and they were able to backtrack from where the body was found and follow the surveillance video several steps behind. But now the biggest question for them and for a lot of people is whether Jocelyn knew these suspects or if this was just a brief encounter. Now, of course, a lot of questions still unanswered, but we hope to learn more also as these suspects attend court. Reporting live, Anieli Ruiz, KHOU 11 News.
And we'll we'll be sure to share those details when they make those appearances.
New at noon, booking photos released just moments ago of the two men charged with capital murder in the death of 12-year-old Joselyn Nungaray. We have been following this case all week. The girl's body was found in a North Houston creek on Monday. Devon Raming live in downtown Houston with the latest on this really upsetting case. Devon, any update on when the suspects will be facing a judge?
Sherman, not at this hour. In fact, we've been checking the court docket all day long, waiting to see if these suspects' names would pop up because they are expected to appear in court at some point today. And, the community is also waiting for more answers in this case as well. So we will continue to follow the docket to see and bring you the latest if they do indeed appear. Now, these images were captured yesterday during the arrest of 21-year-old Johan Jose Martinez and 26-year-old Franklin Jose Pena Ramos. Houston police say the suspects were seen leaving a restaurant on the north side moments before meeting up with the 12-year-old on Sunday at a convenience store near Kirkendall Road before heading to the bridge where she was killed. And this tragedy is still sending shockwaves through the community.
They just moved in. They haven't even been here a month. It's very emotional because when you're thinking, I live on the 3rd floor, these people are on the 2nd floor. And it's just like, I don't even, there's no emotions here.
Within the last hour, we've also learned both suspects were in the country illegally from Venezuela at the time of their arrest Thursday. That's according to the U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement, better known as ICE. Now, there will be a public candlelight vigil held for Jocelyn this evening. We have that information for you here on your screen. That vigil is going to happen from 7:30 to 9 this evening. It is open to the public. It'll be taking place at 12410 Kirkendall Road. Again, that'll be 12410 Kirkendall Road. That's the latest from downtown here in Houston. For now, we'll send it back to you, Sherman, in the studio.
The two men charged with capital murder in the death of 12-year-old Joselyn Nungaray are set to face a judge at any moment. Trayson Bragg, live downtown Houston. Trayson, get us up to speed on this case.
Well, Lynn, I'll tell you, the courts are running a little behind here in downtown because we are still waiting for those two suspects to see a judge for the first time. And while there are still so many questions that we have about the two suspects and the moments leading up to the alleged murder that police say they are not able to answer for us at this time, we are learning some new information from court documents and the U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement Agency today. Now, a spokesperson with ICE told us the two men are Venezuelan nationals who entered the country illegally. In newly obtained court documents, we learned that at least one of the two men moved into the apartment complex where they were taken into custody yesterday, just 1 month ago. Excuse me. In those documents, police claim the men lured the 12-year-old, then spent 2 hours with her before tying her up, strangling her, and dumping her in a bayou. A short time ago, my colleague Anayeli Ruiz spoke with Jocelyn's mother ahead of a vigil for Jocelyn later tonight.
I'm glad that they have been brought to justice, and I'm very glad that the city of Houston has been a tremendous help. Law enforcement has been a tremendous help, and I'm very, very, very appreciative and thankful that everybody has been here to support, and it's a sigh of relief that, they are going to get what they deserve.
Now you heard the mother there. The family says that they are grateful to the community and for everyone who helped police and all the help that led to these arrests. Now they do say that, again, that vigil is planned for tonight at 7:30. They say it's open to the public and it will be held near where Jocelyn's body was found. Len, I'll send it back to you.
And of course, we will be at the vigil tonight, and we're still awaiting on the court appearance by the suspects. Trayson, thank you.
I'm glad that they have been brought to justice, and I'm very glad that the city of Houston has been a tremendous help. Law enforcement has been a tremendous help, and I'm very, very, very appreciative and thankful that everybody has been here to support, and it's a sigh of relief that, they are going to get what they deserve.
Up first tonight, a huge show of support for the family of Joselyn Nungaray, a 12-year-old girl murdered and dumped in a North Houston bayou.
The mayor, the acting police chief, even gallery furniture owner Jim Mattress McInvale attending a candlelight vigil for Jocelyn where they vowed to get justice for her. We have team coverage tonight.
Starting with Stephen Going, who has new information about the two suspects accused in her murder. Stephen.
Mia, tonight these two suspects were expected to stand in front of a judge for the first time, but they waived their initial appearances in probable cause court. The case was still discussed, though. The Harris County DA's office asked for a $1 million bond for both of these men, but no bond was set. Instead, the judge tonight referred the issue of bail to a district court to be decided at a later date. For now, 26-year-old Franklin Pena and 22-year-old Johan Jose Rangel Martinez will remain in jail on capital murder charges. If you'll remember, it was this past Sunday when 12-year-old Jocelyn came across these guys at a 7-Eleven store, according to Houston police. In new court documents, it's alleged the two men later lured Jocelyn under a bridge, tied her up, and took off her pants before killing her. A judge read out those allegations tonight.
These gentlemen encountered her, allegedly asking her for directions, and then later strangled her to death, and then later threw her body in the bayou to get rid of DNA evidence.
Now, according to Immigration and Customs Enforcement, Ramos and Martinez are Venezuelan nationals who illegally entered the U.S. previously. They were both in ICE custody in recent months, but later released with notices to appear. Now, this is what comes next in this case. Both of these men have requested court-appointed counsel, and they have another court date coming up in district court on Monday. That is when we expect to find out what the bond will be. Back to you.
Such tragic details and tough to hear. Stephen Going with the difficult assignment tonight. Thank you. Right now, we want to get back to that emotional vigil for 12-year-old Joselyn Nungaray.
Anieli Ruiz live in North Houston, where dozens of people gathered to support Jocelyn's family tonight. Anieli?
Guys, it was tough, hard to keep those tears back as the community mourns this beautiful little girl. It was a loss that was felt by the entire community. The tragic killing of 12-year-old Joselyn Nungaray, a beautiful little girl.
She was goofy. She had her own personality. She was one of a kind, wasn't a follower. She was her own trendsetter. She loved animals.
Her mother wearing this Forever 12 shirt because her daughter will never get to be a teenager.
I was looking forward to seeing how beautiful she was going to grow up to be.
At the vigil, Mayor Whitmire.
We are here to support the family.
Along with Police Chief.
Over this very tragic incident.
Andy Kahn with Crime Stoppers.
And she's going to be a catalyst for change.
And many other victims' families who have lost their loved ones.
We cannot allow these types of crimes to take part here in our city.
As well as Jocelyn's friends, all of them coming together to show their support to this family who's heartbroken. And although tonight was a night to honor Jocelyn, to share beautiful memories of her, it was also a chance for them to ask the justice system to be tough.
Join me in saying no bail. We did here this afternoon $1 million bail.
Her mother asking,
we all need to give them their punishments that they deserve, because my baby didn't deserve this.
As she wishes she could get one more goodbye.
I'll give her the longest hug, and I would just tell her, please stay home. Please, we'll stay up all night, watch movies. Please stay home.
Jocelyn's 5-year-old little brother just learned today that his sister is now in heaven. A tough loss for this family. We also learned that Mattress Mac is paying for the funeral of Jocelyn. Reporting live in North Houston, Anieli Ruiz, KHOU 11 News.
And right now, 2 men accused of strangling a 12-year-old girl to death remain in the Harris County Jail with no bond. The district attorney asked that it be set at $1 million apiece, but that decision is set to come early next week. Katira Winfrey is live outside the Harris County Jail with details on the 2 suspects. Katira, what are you learning this morning?
Well, Trayson, we know that the pair is charged with capital murder. They were supposed to have their initial appearance in probable court, but they waived that appearance. However, the judge did go over the allegation, reading off disturbing details in the death of 12-year-old Joselyn Nungaray. The decision over any bond amount, however, will be decided on Monday in district court. However, new court documents say 26-year-old Franklin Ramos and 22-year-old Johan Martinez came across 12-year-old Jocelyn at a convenience store Sunday night. The two men allegedly lured her to a bridge where her body was eventually found. Court documents say when they got there, they tied her up, took off her pants, and killed her.
These gentlemen encountered her, allegedly asking her for directions, and then later strangled her to death, and then later threw her body in the bayou to get rid of DNA evidence.
It turns out the two men had previously been in ICE custody but were released with notices to appear. The nature of that detention isn't clear. However, both are from Venezuela. Now, we're expected to learn more information as those men are expected back in court Monday. Reporting live in Houston, Katira Winfrey, KHOU 11 News.
I thank everybody for being here to make notice, a national notice for my daughter. She was amazing. I still see her face in the back of my head every day, all day. Keep getting little signs about her throughout the days, and it's just been a very, very hard time for me and my family, but the amount of support I've been getting from everybody it's very, it's from the bottom of my heart, so appreciated. I hear her sayings just replaying over and over on in a loop in my brain. Her dorkiness, her quirkiness, she definitely made people laugh. She's I'm always gonna remember those memories because she had such a bright future ahead of her, and I knew she was gonna go very far. And you know, these monsters took that opportunity from her, from our family, of watching her. And I just want people to remember, I know this is a very high profile case, but she was still my firstborn. I was a teen mom. I fought for her at 15. So 27 now, I'm still fighting for her. And just remember that she was a very special little girl that deserves her justice. And I know she's gonna make a difference in this world for all children. And now it's my job to make sure it continues to happen. So I just want to say thank you.
Within just the last hour, a judge set a multi-million-dollar bail for one of two suspects accused of killing 12-year-old Joselyn Nungaray in Harris County. Both men have been placed on an immigration hold. The courtroom today packed with Jocelyn's family. Ugochi Iloka now has the latest on what that judge decided. Ugochi.
Yeah, Sherman and her family very emotional. We know right now Franklin Pena is being held on a $10 million bond in the Harris County Jail. That is $5 million more than what the state asked for. Now, we know that Judge Josh Hill stated in court that he ended up setting that bail amount so high due to concerns of allegations that both suspects would allegedly try to find some money and take off. They were looking to leave town after allegedly killing that 12-year-old girl. Take a look at your screen. This is new video of 26-year-old Franklin Pena facing a judge an hour ago in court. Now, Pena is one of two men who are charged with capital murder in the death of 12-year-old Joselyn Nungaray. According to court documents, Pena and 22-year-old Johan Jose Rangel Martinez allegedly lured Jocelyn under a bridge where they stayed for about 2 hours on June 17th. Investigators used surveillance video to track the movements of Martinez and Martinez, as well as Pena, before and after Jocelyn was strangled and left in the creek. Now, they said the suspects allegedly met Jocelyn near Crookendall Road. The three were seen on camera walking to a nearby convenience store. Court records say the men took her pants off, tied her up, killed her, and allegedly threw her body into the bayou. Now, Pena and Martinez were arrested early Thursday morning at the Canfield Lakes Apartments on North Borough Drive, where they live together. Now, right now, as we speak, the DA's office is hosting a press conference right behind those doors there, where you see someone coming out now. We understand Jocelyn's family is there, emotional, her mother speaking about how she loved her daughter and other things. So Jason Miles is in there. You'll hear more from him on KHOU 11 later. We also know that Martinez is due for his arraignment hearing in court tomorrow. Reporting live at the Harris County Criminal Courthouse, Ugochi Iloka, KHOU 11 News.
Monsters. That's how Joselyn Nungaray's mother describes two men charged with killing her daughter and dumping her body in a creek.
Today, one of the men appeared in court for the very first time. His bond set even higher than prosecutors expected. Jason Miles is at the Criminal Justice Center downtown, where the mother spoke out, and he has new details about the suspects. Jason?
Hey there, guys. Yeah, this case continues to get a lot of attention across the country, partly because these suspects entered the country illegally. But as we learned again today, the heart of this story is a mother grieving the loss of her little girl. 1 week after 12-year-old Joselyn Nungaray's body was found dumped in North Houston.
I still see her face in the back of my head every day.
Mother Alexis cannot stop thinking about the daughter she fought to keep as a teenage mother, who never became a teen herself.
And I knew she was gonna go very far. And, you know, these monsters took that opportunity from her.
Jocelyn's mother and other family joined DA KHOU today following the arraignment of 26-year-old Franklin Jose Pena Ramos, one of the two men charged with capital murder of a child between 10 and 15. His bond set at $10 million, double what prosecutors requested.
Make no mistake, this is a horrific crime.
Right now, neither suspect seen in surveillance with Jocelyn before her death is eligible for the death penalty because of a quirk in the law. But that could change if the ongoing investigation reveals underlying crimes like sexual assault or kidnapping.
This victim was found, bound and without clothing from the waist down in the water.
Jocelyn's mother says it's been a very difficult time, as you might imagine, but she appreciates the community's support, from an online fundraiser to this vigil last Friday night.
She was a very special little girl that deserves her justice.
She's convinced her daughter will make a difference for other children, even in death. And the suspect who appeared in court here today is also accused of removing an ankle bracelet issued by Border Patrol after Jocelyn's murder. He's also accused of trying to raise money, according to prosecutors, to try and skip town. His alleged accomplice due in court tomorrow morning. Reporting live downtown, Jason Miles, KHOU 11 News.
We keep learning more in the case. Jason, thank you. Now, we heard from District Attorney Kim Ogg in Jason's story. She's a Democrat. She also said today this case is proof of our broken immigration system. We later asked Republican Senator John Cornyn his thoughts about the case and what it says about immigration. Here's what he said.
Tragically, this is what happens when you have uncontrolled borders. They let good people come in who want nothing more than the ability to work and provide for their family, but it also lets bad people come in. And it's a terrible danger.
Cornyn, just one of several high-profile Republicans in Texas who have criticized President Biden's border policies while discussing this murder case. The second suspect, by the way, is due in court tomorrow. We'll stay on top of that appearance and bring you updates on the case here on air, online at KHOU.com. Good evening, I'm Len Cannon. Mia has the night off. It has now been 1 week since the body of 12-year-old Joselyn Nungaray was found dumped in a North Houston creek. And so far, the courts are not going easy on the suspects. 26-year-old Franklin Jose Peña Ramos is one of the 2 men charged with capital murder. Today, a judge set his bond at $10 million, double what prosecutors had asked for. Prosecutors say Ramos, who was in the country illegally, cut off an ankle monitor issued by Border Patrol and was trying to raise money to skip town before he was arrested. Right now, neither suspect is facing the death penalty, but the DA says that could change depending on what investigators find from forensic testing.
Should those tests produce evidence that would support a charge of sexual assault, or should other evidence be brought forward that supports a charge of kidnapping, both underlying offenses would make this capital murder and these individuals death penalty eligible.
The other suspect in the case, Johan Jose Rangel Martinez, is due in court tomorrow morning. This tragedy is taking a political turn after investigators revealed both suspects are Venezuelan nationals who were in the country illegally. Marcelino Benito joins us with that part of the story tonight. Marcelino?
Len, everyone agrees that Jocelyn's murder at the hands of 2 undocumented immigrants should have never happened. But groups like LULAC say this anti-migrant rhetoric that has begun to bubble up could lead to more violence against more people. Tonight, this post by Constable Mark Herman has already been shared hundreds of times. He writes, "Migrant crime has arrived in our area with a vengeance," referring to the brutal murder of 12-year-old Joselyn Nungaray.
Some folks are going to use this tragic, heinous crime for political purposes, and it's very unfortunate.
Herman writes, "Our deputies have had an increase in migrant contacts in our communities, and they are among us. We have no idea who these people are and know nothing about them."
He's saying that he's had a lot more encounters with migrants. What does that really mean?
When we asked, Herman told us he had no official data to back that, quote, increase in migrant contacts. LULAC, the nation's largest Latino civil rights group, says his post is meant to incite fear, lumping all immigrants as criminals.
We know what happened in El Paso with this type of rhetoric of anti-immigrant. Migrants that are here actually commit less crime in terms of percentage proportional ratio as opposed to U.S. citizens.
The data backs that up. A Stanford study found since the 1960s to today, immigrants are 60% less likely to be incarcerated than U.S.-born people. And a 2019 Cato Institute study in Texas found undocumented immigrants were 37.1% less likely to be convicted of a crime.
Lumping any community for the mistakes of a few is not a good thing to do. It's not the right thing to do.
But in a tough election year where immigration remains a top issue for voters, expect tragedies like Jocelyn's to remain front and center.
These monsters should never have been in our country, and if I were president, they would not have been in our country.
A White House spokesman also commenting on Jocelyn's murder, sending condolences to her family and calling on the suspects to be held accountable to the fullest extent of the law. Tonight, local Latino groups say the focus should remain on supporting Jocelyn and her family and not using them to score political points.
EVA does not discriminate whether you're a U.S. citizen, undocumented, or seeking asylum as a refugee.
We should mention we did reach out to Constable Mark Herman. I did speak to him on the phone, but he declined an opportunity to sit down for an interview. Len, back to you.
Marcelino with the update. Thank you. Jocelyn's family says a funeral will be held this Thursday afternoon at 1 p.m. at Earthman's Rest Haven Funeral Home that's along the North Freeway near Rankin Road. Gallery furniture owner Jim Mattress Mac McInville has said he will pay for the service and the public is invited.
This morning, the second suspect in the Joselyn Nungaray case is expected to make his first court appearance in less than 3 hours.
22-year-old Johan Jose Martinez Rangel is one of 2 men charged with murdering the 12-year-old girl. Devon Roming is live downtown outside the courthouse with the latest on this case.
Devon, what's expected to happen today?
Well, good morning, Stephanie and Ron. The second suspect in this case is expected to appear in court at around 9 o'clock this morning, and so is the family of Jocelyn. They packed out the courtroom yesterday and are expected to do the same today. Now, yesterday, a judge set bond at $10 million for the other suspect in this case, 26-year-old Jose Peña, which was double what prosecutors were asking for. Both suspects are charged with capital murder in this case, but it's important to note Neither of them are eligible for the death penalty because of a quirk in the law. But that could all change if the ongoing investigation reveals underlying crimes like sexual assault or kidnapping. Jocelyn's family was joined by Harris County District Attorney Kim Ogg in court yesterday as the family seeks justice on Jocelyn's behalf.
Make no mistake, this is a horrific crime.
She was a very special little girl that deserves her justice.
You know, this is a case that's now getting a lot of national attention, partly because the suspects are undocumented immigrants. The suspect arraigned yesterday, Jose Pena, is accused of cutting off an ankle monitor issued by Border Patrol after Jocelyn's death, and also trying to raise money in order to skip town, according to prosecutors. Investigators say 12-year-old Jocelyn was found tied up and naked from the waist down, and her body was dumped in a creek in North Houston just over a week ago. Of course, we will be following this case as the details in this case continue to unfold and bringing you the latest from court today on air and online. Live in downtown Houston, Devon Rahming, KHOU 11 News.
All right, Devon, thank you. And this tragedy has now taken a turn after investigators revealed that both suspects are Venezuelan nationals who were in the country illegally. And in a tough election year where immigration is top of mind for many voters, politicians like former President Trump are now weighing in.
These monsters should never have been in our country, and if I were president, they would not have been in our country.
But leaders with FIEL and LULAC are warning against this kind of rhetoric and the dangers that come with it.
We know what happened in El Paso with this type of rhetoric of anti-immigrant. Migrants that are here actually commit less crime in terms of percentage proportional ratio as opposed to U.S. citizens.
Lumping any community for the mistakes of a few is not a good thing to do. It's not the right thing to do.
Jocelyn's family says her funeral will be held this Thursday afternoon at 1 p.m. at Earthman's Rest Haven Funeral Home along the North Freeway near Rankin Road. Mattress Mac said he will pay for the service. The public is invited to attend.
Back in court this morning as the second suspect charged with the capital murder of Joselyn Nungaray went before a judge for the first time. He set bail for 22-year-old Johan Jose Martinez Rangel at $10 million. Devon Rahming is live in downtown Houston outside of the courthouse with new details in the case. Devon.
Well, Sherman, the new details read in court this morning were very hard for Jocelyn's family to hear as they outlined the allegations of what happened to her. Now, prosecutors say they were able to get access to Martinez Rangel's cell phone, which showed he was searching for ways to leave the country. They also say he admitted to a witness they interviewed that he had done something bad, that he'd hurt someone, and that that person was dead. Investigators say 22-year-old Martinez Rangel had bites and scratches on his arms at the time of his arrest, and say his co-defendant Pena told investigators that Martinez Rangel was the one who was on top of her and tied Jocelyn up and said to throw her in the water to get rid of any DNA. Martinez Rangel is charged with capital murder but isn't eligible for the death penalty without a proof evident hearing, which prosecutors explained after today's arraignment.
And one of the things I would have to prove at that hearing is that a jury would likely give death. Because this is not death penalty eligible, I can't have that hearing by law. Now, what the judge was explaining is if we change this case to a capital murder with an underlying of sexual assault or kidnapping, those cases are death penalty eligible, and then at that time we can have a proof evident hearing to hold them at no bond.
Now, investigators say 12-year-old Jocelyn was found tied up and naked from the waist down, and her body was dumped in a creek in North Houston just over a week ago. Prosecutors also tell us that they are working to expedite testing results, and both suspects remain in jail at this time. Live in downtown Houston, Devon Rahming, KHOU 11 News.
All right, Houston following this case closely. Thank you, Devon.
To an emotional day for the family of 12-year-old Joselyn Nungaray as a second suspect charged in her murder appeared in court. The family learning new details about the night Jocelyn was killed, and it was too much for one family member to bear. Troy Kless is in our newsroom with what happened today. Troy?
Well, Len, the suspect's bond for his murder charge is $10 million, but after the hearing finished, Jocelyn's grandmother had an outburst against the accused killer. For the second day in a row, family of Joselyn Nungaray packed a Harris County courtroom as they watched suspect Johan Jose Martinez Rangel appear. Investigators say the 22-year-old admitted to a witness that he had done something bad and that he had to finish what he started.
At his arrest, he had a bite mark on his arm and scratch marks on his arms.
Prosecutors say his co-defendant, Franklin Pena, told investigators that Martinez Rangel was on top of Jocelyn, allegedly tied her body up and threw it in the creek. He now has a $10 million bond on a capital murder charge. Due to state law, he cannot be eligible for the death penalty without a proof-evident hearing. Prosecutors say that particular hearing is still a possibility.
Now, what the judge was explaining is if we change this case to a capital murder with an underlying of sexual assault or kidnapping, those cases are death penalty eligible, and then at that time we can have a proof evident hearing to hold them at no bond.
Jocelyn's grandmother could be heard in the courtroom calling to the suspect, "Murderer, look at my face." You can see a bailiff talking to the family after the hearing is done.
It's especially difficult when you're dealing with the loss of a 12-year-old child who had their whole life ahead of them. So this will be a very emotional case for us as prosecutors as well as the family.
Prosecutors also say the suspect was looking up ways to flee the country after his image went public. Now, prosecutors are also rushing test results to see if the victim was sexually assaulted. Back to you.
Waiting on that information. Troy Kless, thank you. KHOU 11, of course, following this story closely. So for the very latest developments, head to KHOU.com for all of the updates.
Public is invited to honor the life of 12-year-old Joselyn Nungaray. She was killed last week after sneaking out of her family's apartment in the middle of the night. 2 men are charged with capital murder, accused of luring her to a nearby bridge, strangling her, and dumping her body in a bayou. A private funeral service will be held today at 1 o'clock, but the public is invited to join a celebration of life service at Gallery Furniture starting at 3 o'clock.
Today, family and friends say goodbye to the 12-year-old girl found strangled in a North Houston creek. Joselyn Nungaray was killed last week after sneaking out of her family's apartment in the middle of the night. Devon Raming live at the cemetery with how she is being remembered. Devon.
Well, Sherman, we've seen dozens of people arriving already, bringing flowers and balloons, as hundreds of people are expected to attend this afternoon services, including elected officials, to say their final goodbyes to 12-year-old Jocelyn. Now, the service is expected to last about an hour before Jocelyn's body will be placed on a horse-drawn caisson, which will carry her to her grave here on site. Family members are then expected to gather later this afternoon at a celebration of life. Houston police say 12-year-old Jocelyn was brutally murdered by 2 undocumented immigrants nearly 2 weeks ago, and her body was found tied up and left in a creek in North Houston. Of course, we are going to have much more on this afternoon services in our later newscast later this evening. For now, live in Houston, Devon Raming, KHOU 11 News.
Julie, Thea, is going to come and say a few words.
Hello, everyone. I am Jocelyn's great aunt, but everybody knows me, and how she knew me was Thea. But how I knew her is not Jocelyn, it's by Jossie. Today, I have the honor and great privilege to share a few words about Jossie. I have such great memories of her. I've been so blessed to have had been there when she first came into this world, took her first breath. And I was with her the day before she took her last breath. My and now she's forever taken from us. But my favorite memories was when she was a baby and a toddler. All you can ever, what my favorite was her always crawling in and out of my room. She was either in or she was out. Always there. I want to think it was for me, but I think it was for my son Gio's toys. It really wasn't for me. He had a lot of toys. But I will always remember her big, beautiful smile and beautiful, bright eyes. And she had such beautiful curly locks. And Josie was our chunky little thing. She had rolls for days, but always a happy baby. But those who did know her knew Josie was shy, quiet, soft-spoken, and reserved like her mom. Josie loved to read. Anytime we were at Walmart or any store, that girl would try to beeline for the book section all day, every day. And so we had to hold on to her so she didn't go. But that's what Josie loved to do. She loved to read Harry Potter and all the series, Stranger Things, Twilight. But every year my family and I have a family vacation. She rode up there with me and my son, up there to vacation, and then the Sunday morning, she rode back with me, June 16th. But Josie, I will always love you. And today is the last day I will get to physically see you and just touch you one more time. But until we meet again, Josie, and we will, but you're up in heaven with Lita, and I know she's loving on you and probably made you some good food. So, but I love you. I love everyone. And just thank y'all so much for being here. But I did want to say, one of her best cousins, my niece, is Kara, and those were two peas in a pod right there. Is this going to be forever different? When we have Christmas, because as soon as one or the other was there, they waited for the other one, and as soon as they were together, they were gone. I'm always going to miss Chelsea. So thank y'all, everyone, for all of your support and everybody that has done everything. But first and foremost, I just wanted to say I love you, Josie, and we will see you again, I promise. And we will get them, and they will get what they deserve. Thank you.
Privilege of meeting Alexis and Jocelyn and Elias about 3 or 4 years ago. They instantly became part of our family. They lived with us for a couple of years, so I got to see Josie grow up every day. I got to see her get ready for school. I got to see her roll out of her bedroom on her hoverboard, running into the wall. But I guess one of my favorite memories is she loved to bake. And she'd get in the kitchen with us and we'd make the biggest messes. But she'd always eat what she cooked. Maybe it was only one bite, but she was just, she was a beautiful soul. And she is very much missed. Thank you for everybody for being here and for supporting Alexis and the family. And I will always be her other Mimi, and she will always be my Josie.
An emotional farewell today for 12-year-old Joselyn Nungaray, nearly 2 weeks after she was murdered in North Houston.
Her death making headlines across the country. Jason Miles is live from Earthman Rest Haven Cemetery in Greenspoint with more. Jason.
Hey there, guys. Yeah, the girl known as quirky, pretty, nice, even fun-loving was laid to rest here in this cemetery following a service inside the chapel here. Let's take you inside that chapel, which was filled with hundreds of people. It included family, friends, political leaders, and others, even classmates who read a few things, several sharing memories of Jocelyn. She was also known as Josie, including how the girl was obsessed with movies like Twilight. In many ways, she was a typical preteen, but now Jocelyn, also known for being the victim of a violent crime involving 2 suspects accused of strangling her and throwing her in a creek. Jocelyn's great aunt telling those in attendance today they would get justice for the 12-year-old after she shared these words. Take a listen.
Thank y'all, everyone, for all of your support and everybody that has done everything. But first and foremost, I just wanted to say I love you, Jossie, and we will see you again, I promise.
Jocelyn's body was escorted by dozens of people to her grave site via a horse-drawn caisson, several in the crowd yelling, quote, "We love you, Jocelyn." She is laid to rest not far, as a matter of fact, from where she was killed early last week, just in an area across the North Freeway here. Now, Governor Abbott's wife, Cecilia Abbott, as well as Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick, among the dignitaries here today. They spoke with Jocelyn's mother at the end of the service and even handed her some sort of certificate or proclamation. And since the funeral, Dan Patrick, the Lieutenant Governor, has announced his intention to file what he is calling Jocelyn's Law, which will allow Texans to vote to amend the Constitution to automatically deny bail for capital murder suspects. For now, reporting live on the north side near Greenspoint, Jason Miles, KHOU 11 News.
An incredibly tough day for her family and young friends. Thank you so much, Jason. We've been following this case since the very beginning. You can find links to all of our reporting on our website, KHOU.com. You can also find the latest information on the case against the 2 men now charged with her murder. Today, Joselyn Nungaray was laid to rest not far from where she was found dead last week in a creek. 2 men who were in this country illegally are accused of murdering the 12-year-old. But that was not the focus today. Rather, it was her short yet meaningful life. Jason Miles joins us live now from the Greenspoint area with how people honored her today. Hi, Jason.
Hey there, guys. Yeah, both the funeral and graveside service were held in this cemetery I'm standing in. Perfect strangers among those braving the heat to say goodbye. In a horse-drawn caisson painted white, Joselyn Nungaray was escorted to her final resting place, where a grieving mother and others said goodbye.
We say Godspeed, little one. Sweet dreams, little one.
Inside, musical interludes included photos from Jocelyn's 12 years on Earth.
I will always be grateful to you. I love you, Jocelyn.
While school friends and family members shared memories of the girl described as goofy, quirky, and fun-loving.
I will always remember her big, beautiful smile.
Great Aunt Julie Gonzalez recalled spending time with Jocelyn, whose name means happy and joyful, the day before she died.
I just wanted to say I love you, Jossie, and we will see you again, I promise.
She added that the family will also make sure justice is served to those accused of ending Jocelyn's life. And Jocelyn's father was in attendance today as well. He happens to be serving prison time in the TDCJ system. He was allowed to leave his prison with an escort in order to be here for his daughter's funeral. Reporting live near Greenspoint, Jason Miles, KHOU 11 News.
A lot of heavy hearts and young hearts there at that service. Thank you, Jason. Jocelyn's funeral drew political leaders from both sides of the aisle outraged over her murder and the fact that 2 suspects were given $10 million bail. Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick was there and afterwards shared on his X account that next session he'll urge the Texas legislature to pass bail reforms he plans to call Jocelyn's Law. He says that law would allow Texans to vote to amend the state constitution to automatically deny bail for all capital murder suspects. He also promised to change state law to make the murder of any child under 15 a death penalty case. Right now, only the murder of children under 10 qualifies for the death penalty.
Morning, we are getting a closer look at how investigators tracked down the suspects in 12-year-old Joselyn Nungaray's death, thanks to search warrants that were shared with KHOU 11. Katira Winfrey just read through the nearly 30 pages and is live to break it all down. Katira, what did you learn?
Well, Trayson, the documents show that investigators were able to seize clothing, shoes, toothbrushes, and other items from the home, but also goes into detail about two other men living with the suspects, how they helped break the investigation wide open. At one point, telling investigators the suspects said they'd been partying and hurt someone who was now dead. According to the search warrant, 4 men were living in the apartment with the two suspects, Franklin Pena and Johan Martinez Rangel. One of those men says he'd only been living with them a few days. While watching the news with the suspects, a story aired showing surveillance images of the suspects involved in Jocelyn's murder. That man says he immediately recognized the suspects as 2 of his roommates, but tried not to react and instead reached out to a cousin who then called investigators for him. Another roommate, in a different conversation with one of the suspects, says Martinez Rangel, who went by 2 nicknames, Gordo and Chachis, asked to talk to him about something. According to the search warrant, one of the suspects told their boss, who also lived with them, that the 2 of them had made a mistake after partying and that they had hurt someone and the person is now dead. According to the search warrant, their boss then told his girlfriend about it. She then showed him the surveillance images of the suspects released on the news. That roommate recognized the men and called police. And the search warrant also explained how surveillance video showed Jocelyn and the 2 suspects walking below the bridge near the bayou where her body was found, and surveillance 3 hours later shows just the 2 suspects walking back out. Now, both men are still being held on multi-million-dollar bonds and will appear in court in September. Right now, we have a breakdown of the documents on our website, KHOU.com.
We are learning the suspects accused of killing 12-year-old Joselyn Nungaray were turned in by their roommates. Katira Winfrey read through the search warrant and explains what led the roommates to call authorities.
The search warrant says the 2 suspects were inside their apartment unit watching the news with a roommate when surveillance images of them popped up on the screen. The roommate at the time stayed quietly, but eventually put into motion a string of events that led investigators here. A 30-page search warrant outlines the accusations against Franklin Pena and Johan Martinez Rangel, who's listed in the search warrants as Gordo or Chachis. The pair is accused of killing 12-year-old Joselyn Nungaray on June 16th. According to the search warrant, Pena and Martinez Rangel had been out for a night of fun prior to coming into contact with Jocelyn at the 7-Eleven on Kirkendall Road. Surveillance video, according to the documents, shows the suspects and girl walk below the bridge near the bayou at Rankin Road where her body was found. Then 2 hours later shows only the suspects leaving. A roommate who'd only been living with the suspects for a few days came forward, saying all 3 were watching the news when surveillance images of the suspects in Jocelyn's death were shown. That roommate, according to documents, didn't react, but instead later reached out to someone else who called authorities for him. In a second portion of the search warrant, officials say a second roommate, described as the suspect's boss, was giving a ride to Pena when, according to the documents, Pena said, "Can I talk to you about something?" The documents go on to say Pena said the suspects made a mistake after partying and had hurt someone who is now dead. The roommate/boss then went to his girlfriend's house and told her what he learned. According to the search warrant, the girlfriend told him about Jocelyn's death and then showed a surveillance image of the suspects. The documents say he recognized them as Pena and Martinez Rangel. That's when he called police to report them. Both Pena and Martinez Rangel are charged with capital murder. Katira Winfrey, KHOU 11 News.
Tonight we are learning disturbing new details about the death of 12-year-old Joselyn Nungaray. 2 Venezuelan nationals are charged with murdering the young girl and dumping her body in a North Houston bayou. Stephen Goen has been going through a new search warrant we obtained tonight. Stephen, what have you learned?
Police actually filed this search warrant in an effort to get more information about one of these suspects' cell phone records. But there was additional information that may give us a better understanding of what happened the night Joselyn Nungaray was killed. We have to warn you, some of the details here are graphic. This 13-page search warrant describes the contrasting interviews that Franklin Pena and Johan Martinez Rangel had with Houston police in the hours following their arrest on June 20th. Just a few days earlier, on June 16th, the two men charged in the killing of 12-year-old Joselyn Nungaray spent hours at an Ojos Locos sports cantina in North Houston before they met Joselyn at the 7-Eleven on Rankin Road, according to police. According to the court documents, they asked her for directions, and the three of them left together. When speaking to detectives after his arrest, Pena said that he kissed Joselyn on the lips after they walked away from that 7-Eleven. But in that same interview, he denied touching her and describes how his co-defendant allegedly killed Joselyn. He stated that Martinez Rangel wrapped his arms around Joselyn's neck and guided her underneath this bridge on Rankin, where he took off her pants and climbed on top of her. The search warrant states that Pena told him to stop, but he replied, quote, "I have to finish what I started." He told police Martinez Rangel later strangled Joselyn to death and then tied up her hands and feet. That interview, starkly different from that of the second suspect. According to the warrant, Martinez Rangel initially distanced himself from the murder and claimed that Pena was solely responsible. He later told police that he did tie up Joselyn's hands and feet, but he said he told Pena to throw her body into the bayou because he thought it would get rid of DNA evidence. Now, the search warrant also claims that both suspects had injuries on their arms when arrested. We don't know if that's because Joselyn was fighting back. As I mentioned before, this search warrant was filed to obtain cell phone records. We are following up with Houston police to see if they found anything. At HPD headquarters tonight, Stephen Goen, KHOU 11 News.
And new this afternoon, new legislation has been drafted in the name of 12-year-old Joselyn Nungaray. Police say that she was murdered and dumped in a creek in North Houston. Devon Raming live in downtown Houston, where Senator Ted Cruz just introduced the new act alongside Joselyn's family. Devon.
Well, Sherman, Senator Ted Cruz tells us that he hopes that this bill, if passed, would prevent what happened to Joselyn from ever happening to anyone else again. Now, the senator was joined by Joselyn's mother, Congressman Troy Nehls, along with Harris County District Attorney Kim Ogg, and leaders with Crime Stoppers to introduce the Justice for Jocelyn Act. Now, here's what it would do. It would reinforce mandates like stricter GPS monitoring for people who enter the country illegally and to immediately deport those who violate the terms of their release. Senator Cruz claims if this would have been in place, Joselyn would still be alive. Today, her mother, Alexis, said she's using this act as a tool to fight for the justice her daughter deserves.
This common sense legislation mandates that the administration detain illegal aliens who are in their custody while their cases are proceeding. That they no longer engage in catch and release, just letting go whoever comes into this country.
I'm now supporting and fighting for Senator Cruz's Justice for Jocelyn Act because if it had been in place, Jocelyn would be here with us today. She'd be living the life she deserves to live. I urge everyone to please support the Justice for Jocelyn Act. With it, we can really make sure that this never happens again. We can make sure that Jocelyn will never be forgotten.
12-year-old Jocelyn's body was found in a creek in North Houston on June 16th. Police arrested a pair of undocumented immigrants from Venezuela in the case. Both are still in jail on capital murder charges. Each of them are being held on a $10 million bond. Now, Senator Ted Cruz says from here, the goal now is to generate support for this bill in the House and Senate in order for it to pass. Live in downtown Houston, Devon Raming, KHOU 11 News.
Family of a 12-year-old Houston girl investigators say was murdered by two undocumented immigrants joined former President Donald Trump at the U.S.-Mexico border today. Joselyn Nungaray was found dead in a creek in North Houston on June 17th. Police say these men, Franklin Pena and Johan Jose Martinez Rangel, strangled her before dumping her into that creek. Both men were in the country illegally. Former President Trump says the case highlights the Democrats' quote, weak border security policy. Nungaray's mother spoke about the pain her family's still going through.
Now I have to go through the rest of my life with my son, always asking for his sister. And I just really, really, really want everybody to please take into consideration how important border control is.
Trump and his Republican allies have been criticizing Democrats for spending more time talking about him this week at their convention rather than talking about border security.
President Trump heads to Nevada tomorrow after visiting the border in Arizona today. He was joined by the mother of Joselyn Nungaray, the 12-year-old Houston girl murdered in June, allegedly by 2 Venezuelan migrants. Anayeli Ruiz has the story now. She joins us this evening. Anayeli.
Well, today offered not just an opportunity for Donald Trump to campaign, but also for Jocelyn's mother to share her daughter's story on a national platform. It was an emotional day for this mother.
I really hope everybody can hear my pain.
As Alexis Nungaray shared the story of her daughter, 12-year-old Joselyn Nungaray. Jocelyn was killed back on June 17, allegedly by 2 Venezuelan nationals.
After walking to the convenience store, these criminal migrants kidnapped Jocelyn, tied her up for 2 hours, violently assaulted her, and strangled her violently to death.
Both men were charged with capital murder in connection with her death.
She was left with no clothing from the waist down, was thrown in a bayou, left, was strangled to death.
Her mother says she's now left with the horrific pain.
So now I have to go through the rest of my life with my son, always asking for his sister.
During her visit to the border, Jocelyn's mother gave Donald Trump a pin with her daughter's picture. He quickly placed it right beneath the American flag on his lapel.
And I almost hate to say it in front of them. I don't know how they take it.
Now, former President Trump is using their stories as part of his campaign to strengthen border security.
Jocelyn is in heaven now, looking down on us right now. And in her name and her memory, we'll be fighting to protect every American daughter and child.
And his mother supporting his proposed policy.
They were detained and they were released when they shouldn't have been released.
By the way, the suspects in this case, they're still in the Harris County Jail, and one of the suspects' attorneys filed a gag order asking for all parties involved not to speak. Anayeli Ruiz, KHOU 11 News.
The mother of 12-year-old Joselyn Nungaray appeared before a Senate Judiciary Committee in Washington today, calling on lawmakers to do more to monitor undocumented immigrants in the U.S. Jocelyn was murdered last June, and investigators say 2 Venezuelan nationals lured her from a Houston convenience store, killed her, and then dumped her body in a nearby bayou. Both men had been detained before the murder on separate occasions in El Paso. They were released the same day with orders to appear before an immigration judge later. They both came to Houston about a month before Jocelyn was killed.
I now and forever will continuously be her voice, and I will not stop fighting for Jocelyn. I come to you all as a grieving mother to please help make this country make a change for the greater good. This country needs to make a change. We need to properly secure our borders. We need to be able to have that security knowing we are safe in our own country. And most importantly, we need to protect our children. They are supposed to be our future.
The Justice for Jocelyn Act would require Immigration Customs Enforcement to exhaust all reasonable efforts to keep undocumented immigrants in custody before releasing them. Both suspects are charged with capital murder. They're due in court tomorrow morning.
Within the last hour, the 2 men charged with capital murder in the killing of 12-year-old Joselyn Nungaray were back in court. There was a hearing on a defense motion for a gag order in the case. Devon Raming live in downtown Houston. So what did the judge decide?
Well, Sherman, Judge Josh Hill decided not to grant that gag order that the defense attorneys for both suspects in this case were seeking. He instead has decided to draft up his own protective order in order to protect the integrity of this case. Now, the defense for Franklin Pena originally wanted a gag order because of the national attention this case has received, and more specifically, comments made by Harris County District Attorney Kim Ogg to both local and national media about the case. Pena's defense attorneys say Ogg has allegedly called both suspects monsters and has been speaking about them as if they've been found guilty already. Now, the attorneys for the other suspect in this case, Johan Martinez Rangel, say they wanted a gag order simply to protect the evidence being gathered in this case after a lab leaked DNA results to a local media outlet. We spoke with his attorney just moments ago.
All that we want is a fair trial for our client. We don't want this process to be politicized. We want a fair jury, and we can't get that with people discussing the case when they don't have any facts or evidence about it. So we're just looking for a fair trial for our client.
Judge Josh Hill also explained to both sides that his authority is limited to the attorneys in the courtroom, and he has no authority to limit the press on what they can share or restrict the family of Jocelyn from expressing their thoughts to the media. He went on to advise both sides to let their parties know of the potential consequences that could come from making public statements. Meanwhile, an oral admonishment remains in place. Now, we did reach out to the DA's office for comment, but the DA's office tells us that they do not have a comment at this time. Live in downtown Houston, Devon Rahming, KHOU 11 News.
The two men accused in the murder of 12-year-old Joselyn Nungaray were indicted on capital murder charges. Jocelyn's body was found in a North Houston creek on June 17th. 3 days later, 26-year-old Franklin Pena and 22-year-old Johan Martinez Rangel were arrested and taken into custody in her death. Both suspects are behind bars this morning.
We will continue to follow Jocelyn's case, her mother's fight, and the outcome for her accused killers. Thank you for joining us for our KHOU 11 Plus Rewind, the killing of Joselyn Nungaray and her mother's fight for justice.